yourself the logic to do it. Right?
Yeah. So,
you see what I mean?
That's not a situation I want to be in, so it's not a situation I want to put others in.
Right.
And to me that seems like the obvious thing to do, regardless of teachings, Christian or otherwise.
Well, I mean, those teachings exist, well, these ideologies don't exist without those teachings in place. We can't say it because they're here. But what you allude to here sounds to me like an absolute, is that an absolute sort of set of rules, and you treat others in a way that's empathic, and in a way that would violate how you would like to be treated, because that sounds to me like something absolute.
Well, the trouble is, you can't say it's absolute because it's viewed through the lens of how I think things should be done. How he thinks things should be done will be different.
I think the point there is you can treat others as you would want to be treated, but something that you would find done to you acceptable today, probably people in 100 years wouldn't find that acceptable, and 100 years ago people would consider things acceptable that we would consider acceptable today. So even though kind of treat others as you want to be treated, that can still change with time.
And I could be doing the entirely wrong thing by Norm if I treat him as I think I'd like to be treated.
Right. So
because he might.
But the principle is still unaltered. I mean, the application of the principle may be alterable, but the principle itself.
I think it's a decent starting point, but you look at it and then it breaks apart. Like if he says, that's not very useful, I don't eat that, I go and give him 2 food.
Yeah.
That's a completely arbitrary example. Then
I can dig it, yeah. Like someone who feels that they find this attitude, like giving food or something like that.
So it changes depending on the situation. I find it a pretty good starting point.
I think it's the whole thing of saying what he's trying
That's a very philosophical question, I think.
I would go with straight out freedom. Yeah, think really for me. Thinking is the most important thing for me.
that society or religion impresses upon lots of different ideas.
I see where you're going with this. I think it's because you're gonna say that all this is contrary to my principles, aren't you?
I was going to say what you're going to say, and then I'll.
I don't know how to word it, but it's just the basic idea of being able to do what you want to do.
So, still, I'm a Christian. A lot of atheists say held into, I think because that's how the church makes me think. I'm not free to make my own decisions. I'm not free to live a life in the way that I really want to live it out.
See, I'm not sure anyone who actually would think about what they're about to say, but I have to say that because although as a Christian you are bound by certain rules and certain ideas, you've actually made a free choice to become a Christian, so you have the freedom to impose the rules on yourself.
What I wanted to talk to you about was something called grace. And what a lot of people sort of think of religion is it's a set of rules that you have to sort of obey. And you enforce that almost like you said at a point of self-thing. And you sort of try and flip that on its head and say actual freedom can only ever be achieved by having the punishment that the judge also rightly deserves, or that you actually have freedom to live under just the way that you want to live, but living that in respect to knowing God. So grace sort of separates the two sort of rules. So it's allows you to live freely in the way you can express yourself in every single way, with art, with music, with going on different waters, living life to the full because of God's grace in the first place. So that is what I would call freedom in respect to what
I've always found this issue somewhat of a paradox of, you get things like Christianity Explored that talk a lot about how, there are no rules in Christianity. So then as the course goes on, you say, well, once you accept God, then you'll start doing all these things and living your life this way.
I can explain that to you. If you have a relationship, so say for example,
I would say personally that I would draw a line at some point. I mean, only yesterday I had one of my best friends storm out me because I did something.
But still, I think that you can still objectively transfer it, because I think that humans are good, but if you think of the relationship parents and child, it's very similar to the relationship with God.
Father disciplines because he loves.
And then later on, you do not want to do something that would upset you. Right? It's a little bit of where you don't want to. That's the risk you incur. You're free to do it, to reject your parents. You can run out of the door at 14, 13 years old, and never come back. But that doesn't make sense in the lasting you will hurt this person. Because it's still something else. Effectively penetrate some level. So that's why I feel rational. And then you have the volume language, which is given to human beings because they're allowed to be free. And that's pretty good. It's come and spit in the face of God, but you have the choice to do that or not. That's a risk. That's a risk-taking thing.
See, my sort of problem with that analogy is that the reason I sort of behave, as it were, for my parents is not for fear of person. It's for fear of me getting cut off, or fear of me losing that protection, losing that structure that I rely on. And I think if you then take that analogy across to the sort of person-God relationship, is that there seems to me there's the sort of same idea that it seems to me that the reason that you are behaving for God is because He provides this sort of structure, this backing that you require, rather than because you just want a relation. I think actually your analogy of friendship is actually quite closer to what sort of the Christian viewpoint probably is, rather than a parent sort of child relationship. But then, as Chris was saying with regards to a sort of friendship thing, is that even if me and Chris were closest to friends, we still would have very different views on some aspects. And I think that if you then take that analogy across to the sort of person-God relationship, is that you would follow some rules because, you didn't mind following those rules, for whatever reason that you rationalise that flaw. But then there are other aspects that are like, well, you're wrong on that. Because if you then go back to the sort of...
I struggle with that one because I think there's 2 points to make here. One, when you become a Christian, it doesn't stop you sin. You still look up and you still accept God, almost like it brings you back to Him every time. Because you realise how much more that forgiveness. So that's one. You don't stop sinning once you're in that relation. The other distinction to make, once you sort of pick and choose the things you find easy to do and the things you don't, well, if you find it easy, it's obviously not something that you need to work on. I think the almost thing of sort of saying, I don't really enjoy not doing this, sort of then saying, well, because I don't really enjoy it, I'll do it anyway. I sort of really question the relationship there anyway, because you're sort of saying to each other, I know that I don't really care, and I'll do it anyway because it doesn't really bother me. I think that's, I would question your motives for constantly wanting to think about yourself rather than the relationship.
I mean, it happens every day, even though people who call themselves Christians, is that it's almost introduced into some hierarchy of Christianity, is that there is a scale of, I'm a better Christian than you because I do less.
There shouldn't be, but unfortunately, to some degree, humans impose it on each other. I am no better than anybody, any other Christian. I'm no better than you. I'm no better than anybody else. Absolutely not. I'm the lowest of low. But I know God, and that puts me in a relationship with Him. I'm no better than anybody else. I'm no more righteous than anybody else. And, I don't deserve salvation. I don't deserve it at all. But God does. So, there should never be a hierarchy. Because in God's eyes, He has no prejudice. He sees every single person as equal. And so, there shouldn't be that. But because of what man knows, especially in the church
the Christian right, and not necessarily the white Christian.
yeah,
That's the thing.
people with maybe good leadership skills rather than want to see God and things like that. You're not willing to do both. He wants that person.
And if somebody's calls him a Christian and does things like kill people, they have to take into account.
Yeah.
I mean, are they really Christian by definition? I mean, this is the thing. And that's what I'm talking about, the absolute principles we have there. They're so important and profound. I think if you had, in a society, if you had some mission statement, so you could say, this person is very wrong, they're an atheist, and why are they doing this? The problem is atheists can be anything. It can be a nihilist. You just open up to a whole bunch of things that you can be in, and when that happens, you can have anything. It's like in the Brothers Karamazov, that God is not particularly about it. And I just think that's a little absolute sense that
you're saying someone that say you can't kill people being Christian, then that's a rule.
No. Just a slight distinction to be made. If you look at the case of David, he had a righteous man killed. He was a Jew, but he followed in God's ways, and he was extremely loved by God. From that we see Jesus' name. But he had that man killed. He also committed adultery. Also did all manner of different things that were in God's eyes displeasing. But he was no less of a person God than anybody else. But it was because of his relationship with God that he found righteousness. It's like the example of Abraham, who there wasn't any law then. There was no law for Abraham to obey at that point. The Ten Commandments hadn't come, there was nothing. But Abraham had a relationship with God to the extent that he took his child, he was about to kill his only child at that point, to sacrifice to God. God stopped him and said, now that I see that your deeds have judged you righteous, you have a relationship that is based upon faith rather than law. And that is the same for Christians today. That if I were to go out and kill someone, I wouldn't. If I did that, my relationship with God would still by that. I would still say, not because I'm a righteous person, but because and the distinction has to be made between faith or deeds.
But what's stopping you from going out and doing whatever you want after you get the relationship?
Because I don't want to hurt God. Because as a Christian, once I recognise that God is and the things that go wrong, I too must hate it because that's what God's doing. So I don't want to kill you. I don't want to get killed. And on the other side of that, I want to try and serve you instead of.
What if God told you to kill me right now?
God wouldn't say that.
But he told you say that? To kill his own son.
Right? That was a test of faith. God was never going to allow him to do it. There was no chance that God was ever going to allow him to kill his own son. It was a test to see whether he was faithful.
Isn't there another story where they picked up a guy who was placing sticks on the Sabbath? He asked God what to do, and he said, you kill him. And then maybe stuck their hands in the last one. That doesn't concern you.
Right. If we look we have a look at the I won't find any time to I have to give you references.
We're at the same level as Atheists, they're not.
Yeah. If you look at the way that Israel had laws and the things from the judges, God demands right. And at that point there was no sacrifice. Sacrifice all you can see has to be blood offering always, because sin has to be paid for in every format, no matter what it is. Now in today's society, as a Christian, we have Jesus as our blood offering. He's the one that takes our sin, takes the punishment in our place. But at that point in time, there was only two things that could happen. You could either offer a sacrifice as a sin or guilt offering, or in turn you could, because sin has to be punished because God cannot stand it. He loves us to bits, but his character, all parts of his character have equal weight. So the fact that he's a loving God doesn't ever take out the fact that he's also a just God. And in the same way, the fact that he's a merciful God does not ever take out the fact that he's also one that is extremely righteous and holy. So all parts of God work together to produce one personality that is all forgiving, but at the same time must punish things that are not of himself.
Right, well, we're actually about to run out of videotape, so I'm just going to quickly wrap this up.
Well, I'm on.
Yeah, it's behind you. So yeah, we can keep this going, but thanks for coming down. And don't forget we're here, we're in the conference room tomorrow at 12 with the other merchants, and we're in here for the Richard Dawkins debate tonight at 7.